This episode starts with the main six riding a train, being pulled by ponies for some odd reason. And Applejack is reading to a tree. Okay. Apparently they're going to be taking the tree, named Bloomberg, to be replanted in an apple orchard in a place called Appaloosa. I gotta say, this is an interesting way to get across your exposition. It's gonna be one of those episodes, isn't it? It becomes nighttime and Rarity's trying to get some sleep, but the rest of the main six are talking up a storm. After Spike gets annoyed with them, Twilight decides to turn off the lights. But none of the others could sleep. Probably because they're high. No, really, they're high. Whatever they're smoking, I want some. Spike just wants to get some rest, so he goes to sleep with Bloomberg in the caboose.
Well, that was kind of Huffy.
Huffy the magic dragon.
Can I have some, please?
Oh, be quiet now!
Okay, sorry I asked. In the morning, something causes the train to jostle. It's a buffalo stampede, and they try to take the train down, causing the main six to tumble around the car. The buffaloes stack on top of each other, and the smallest one, who reminds me of Bambi, hops onto the roof of the train. She's heading towards the caboose, so Rainbow Dash tries to stop her, and fails. Twice. Bambi unlocks the caboose, and the buffalo take the car away with Spike and Bloomberg. And everyone leaves Rainbow Dash in the dust, who now has a headache. Hey, as long as ponies aren't puking, I'm not complaining. The train arrives in Appaloosa, and we are introduced to Brayburn. Thanks for the drugs, guys. This is gonna be one interesting trip. Applejack eventually manages to interrupt Brayburn and tell him that the caboose, Spike, Rainbow Dash, Bloomberg, and for some reason Pinkie Pie have all gone missing. Then we learn that the buffalo want all of the trees off the Appaloosa orchard, and that's why they took the tree. But the settlers can't get rid of the trees because they need the apples to survive. We're doing the racism thing again, huh? Well, good luck, Mr. Polsky. Wait, Polsky? The Pinkie Keen guy? Oh boy. Rainbow Dash runs into Pinkie Pie in the middle of the desert, and for some reason Pinkie has become a complete idiot. And that gets them both caught by the buffalo, who are now good friends with Spike.
What's up? Hey, no worries, I know those guys. They're cool.
Oh, so now he's high. This episode is weird. That night, Pinkie and Rainbow Dash are being taken in by the buffalo. We learn that the buffalo only wanted to take the tree, not Spike, so they honor him and his friends. And for some reason, the buffalo have access to gemstones. Oh, and Rainbow sees Bambi. Yes, we now know her actual name, but I'm going to keep calling her Bambi. Rainbow tries to leave, but Bambi apologizes. We now learn that the settler ponies have taken the buffalo's land and planted the orchard on it. Oh my god, I must be high. They're doing it right. Rainbow and Pinkie talk to the chief of the buffalo. Apparently, that land that the settler ponies took was used by the buffalo for the sacred tradition of stampeding. Alright, not the strongest motivation, but I'll buy it. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie side with the buffalo and agree to talk with the settler ponies. Meanwhile, in Appaloosa, their friends are ready to send out the search party, but almost instantly run into Pinkie, Dash, and Spike. Bambi and Brayburn try to talk about compromise, but Rainbow and Applejack are too set in their beliefs. Polsky, I know they're stubborn, but you're pushing it here. Twilight breaks up the argument, and we learn that Pinkie has an idea. I'm already down the rabbit hole, I don't need any of Pinkie's weirdness. But it looks like Pinkie's weirdness I'm gonna get with this episode's song. This song is... what the fuck? What am I looking at here? It's just, what? There are no words to describe this, except for maybe...
That was the worst performance we've ever seen.
I know it was weird, but it wasn't, bad. So the chief tells the sheriff that if the orchard is still there the next day, the buffalo will flatten it. And then the whole town as well. Bambi and Brayburn try to get their attention, but they fail. So the citizens of Appaloosa start fortifying the town, while the main six try to get them to find a way to compromise. The citizens are too busy gathering apples and building bombardments and making pies. What? Making pies? Rainbow Dash tries to get the chief to not go through with this, but he sees attack as the only option. High noon the next day, everyone is ready to begin the fight. The bells from the clock tower ring, and the chief decides not to go through with it until...
You gotta share, you gotta care.
And the buffalo charge. The settlers defend themselves by throwing pies. There's other stuff too that makes the fight actually entertaining, but pies? And one nails the chief in the face, causing him to fall. Is he dead? Hey, the rest of this episode is so surreal that I believe that a pie to the face killed him. But no, he didn't die. Some of the apple pie falls on his tongue, and he loves it. And they actually come to a compromise. A path through the orchard is cut down so the buffalo can stampede through, as long as they get some apple pies. And Bloomberg gets planted in the orchard. This episode was definitely trying to go for a spaghetti western theme, but in my opinion, it firmly tackled Alice in Wonderland. Everything about this episode is just bizarre, from the dialogue to the humor to the imagery. But weirdness isn't a bad thing. It actually makes it uniquely entertaining, and it gives an effect that no other episode has. I actually do believe that Dave Polsky was high when he wrote this episode. I mean, how else could he get the moral this correct? The disagreement between the settler ponies and the buffaloes was completely believable, and this episode beats bridal gossip by a mile because we actually see that neither side is evil or even unjustified. It's just a misunderstanding that came about through a lack of communication. So I have to ask, why do people hate this episode? Yeah, some people really hate this episode. I've seen it on plenty of worst of lists, and from what I can tell, there are two reasons for it. Number one was the anticlimax, the fight scene where they use pies instead of weapons. My response to that is, firstly, some buffalo did get hurt, and secondly, this is a show for children. What did you expect? Something out of Gladiator? Besides, being overdramatic about the chief's death was pretty damn funny. The other reason is Pinkie Pie. In this episode, she was a complete idiot and blind to the obvious, even getting the buffalo to stampede at the end because potatoes. I wish I could say that it didn't detract anything from this episode, but it did. If Pinkie didn't act like an idiot and didn't, this episode gets a silver,